Yes. Tarantino, yes. Moved by Tarantino, seconded by Segura to approve the request for leave of absence for one certificated employee with the vote of Hall, yes. Pike absent, Segura, yes. Solis, yes. Tarantino, yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the July 23rd, 2018 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Solis, a second by Segura. Would you call the roll, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
And now we're going to have a recognition of the Infinite Campus Custom Transcript Project Team. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? The board is very pleased to recognize a team who was tasked with the tremendous undertaking of creating a custom transcript in the Infinite Campus system. The custom transcript had to include key components such as 3 GPAs, A through G completion, class rank, and scholarship and citizenship information on the same line, just to name a few. The team expended a great deal of professionalism, diligence, and collaboration which contributed to the successful implementation of the Infinite Campus Custom Transcript. Please help me recognize and thank the following individuals: Doris Easterly, James Clayton, Gilbert Garcia, Alexander Duangpana, Maria Esther Lizarraga, Elaine Elefante Liano, Troy Mason, Nancy Nieto, Julie Hitchcock, Norma Martin, Gerald Espino, and Joette Fredrickson. And if you would all like to come up to the front, and Superintendent Jenny, do you have something you'd like to say?
Sure, I'd be happy to say something. So first of all, just this has been a labor of love, right? And we just want to thank you because we know in the last round of transferring to a new student information system, it took us how many years to get that transcript? 5 years, according to the counselor. And this team, and there are a few people missing, this team has been able to push through this task, and they did it in about a little over a year, right? And so thank you so much, the counselors, thank you so much, everyone, the parents, thank you, because the transcript is really easy to read, and our colleges, thank you, because it's easy for them to read. I mean, everyone wins. Although you lost a lot of sleep, we really appreciate all of the effort that you put into this project. Thank you.
Like y'all like each other. Come on. Act like you like each other for a second. All right, we're good. Here on 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. Thank you.
really was a tremendous effort, and we really do want to thank you all for the extra work you went to get that refined. Along with, we thank Mr. Della Quezada as well. We will now have an update from our superintendent, Dr. Karen Janney.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our board meeting. We're really glad that you're here. And as a reminder, all board meetings are live streamed. So we're live on YouTube, allowing all stakeholders to not only view from wherever they are, who can't physically be here, but they can still participate. So welcome, everyone. So I want to congratulate teacher, Mar Vista Academy teacher, Mari Venturino. She was selected as one of 27 educators worldwide, not just in the United States, but worldwide, to participate in the Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development's ASCD, they're called ASCD's, 2018 class of emerging leaders. And the purpose of this program is they recognize and they prepare young, promising educators to influence education programs, policy, and practice on both the local and national levels, probably international too. She's one of 3 educators in California alone, but one of 27 worldwide. That's pretty cool, right, Colleen? She's amazing. It's quite an honor, and we can't wait to hear what she is learning. So congratulations to Mari. Yeah. And summer break, even though it's a short one, is a time when educators reflect on this previous year and the upcoming year. And we're always striving to improve our practice and our growth. And as you can only imagine, there's lots to do to prepare for the opening of a new school year, right? Teachers plan and they read new material, they attend conferences, even during summer break. Counselors ensure that each student has a schedule that meets their needs. Administrators and support personnel, they make sure communication goes out to parents and students and staff, and district office staff support schools. So this is that cycle that we repeat each year, and we really believe that each year we do that with more enthusiasm and more knowledge than the year before. So let me share with you just what's happened just this past week in preparation for this year's opening. Last Wednesday, it was the first day for teachers to return. All content areas met together at different school locations according to their subject area and in professional learning networks. And they met together to collaborate, learn new skills, refine some known skills, and really to inspire each other and be inspired. And so much appreciation to the teaching and learning department team and our teachers on special assignment for their planning. So we thank all of them for that. And then Thursday, we held our inaugural Equity Symposium with keynote speaker Dr. Pedro Noguera. He shared so many pearls and words of wisdom to everyone. In fact, we had so many people who participated say that it was the best opening speaker we've had in years in this district. And so Dr. Fulcher will be sharing his PowerPoint, and I think over time, won't the live streaming be up on our website as well? So if you weren't there and a PowerPoint just doesn't do it, you can go back to YouTube on the district website and you'll see his entire presentation with the PowerPoint. So after his keynote, there were about 80 sessions delivered mostly by our own staff. And some of those session topics included cultural proficiency and awareness, restorative practices, trauma-informed care, relationships, social emotional learning, communication, student and parent voice. And it was truly, truly an amazing day from the beginning to end. And so kudos to the Equity and Culture team and Planning Committee. It was a huge success with a capital S. Okay? And then Friday, I visited a few district departments for their welcome back events. I started out with transportation, and I went over and addressed all of our bus drivers. We have well over 100. And I shared when I was in middle and high school, I rode the bus, right? I rode the bus for, like 4 years. And our bus driver, I remember him quite well, Mr. Fred Mahoney. He knew every single student's name on our bus. He made it a point to get to know us. He made it a point of developing relationships, positive relationships with each student on the bus. And 45 years later, I still remember him. And I remember how he made me feel welcomed and that I mattered, just riding a bus. And so sharing that story reminded me of another Sweetwater employee's story of when he was a young child, not in our district, but in another district, but nevertheless, it still applies. He loved school so much, he used to arrive at school ahead of everyone, like about 6:30 in the morning. This is like as an elementary school student. And so he used to beat everyone except the head custodian, who used to come and open the gate for him every single day. And he remembers his name and remembers him quite well. And so I say this to remind everyone that each employee has the opportunity to make a difference in the life of each student. And it only takes one person to connect with a student to make that difference. And so a student's safe harbor can be found in a classroom, in a counselor, administrator, or nurse's office, a school bus, a cafeteria, a library, an athletic field, a club meeting, and we're doing this all one student at a time. And so I just wanted to remind everybody that each person in our district is important, no matter what our role. And then I visited the Alternative Education Department's meeting where Dr. Marquand and staff discussed similar themes that other schools were addressing. Themes like the importance of sharing personal stories, or the essential elements of effective instruction, or social emotional learning. In fact, that day, last Friday, Twitter was exploding with pictures and comments from what all of our schools were doing around professional development. So it was quite exciting. And then my final visit on Friday was to San Ysidro High School, where I met with 4 teachers, Melissa Hernandez, Sandra Monzon, Jessica Bedoya, and Ryan Soto, and also Principal Reyes, Eduardo Reyes. They were so excited about creating a sustainability culture in their community with students, staff, and families. And so these teachers had attended a summer training on teaching for sustainable communities. And now they want to bring those same ideas that they learned to San Ysidro High School. Ideas that get students aware and involved in water filtration, school gardens, share tables, outdoor, classroom, and recycling. And so San Ysidro High School is now another school in our district where teachers are inspiring students and their community to become sustainable through education and inspiration. And we want to thank San Ysidro High School teachers and all of our other schools that are engaged in this work. These are just a few of the extraordinary efforts and work being done to ensure excellence in teaching and also that welcoming and community that is inclusive, equitable, and provides that positive academic and social well-being. And so today, as many of you know in this room, was the first day of the 2018-19 school year, and we all plan to make this our best year yet. So let's continue to build relationships one person at a time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zanny. Now we will have a report from our student board representative, Brenna Pangilinan. Thank you.
Hi. So as everyone knows, today was our first day back at school. So everyone's back from vacation, and I've been working towards now meeting with the ASB presidents since everyone is back at school. So I've been reaching out to all of the ASB presidents, and we have our first President's Council meeting scheduled for August 8th. So hopefully next time I'll be able to bring a report from all the presidents. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, great day. Okay, so we're going to be flexible with our agenda, and at this point, this is a point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and for a report. Thank you for your consideration. Do we have any, would you please read the items? Or
The speakers, yes. Kathleen Cheers.
I would like to take you back to previous days, players of pay to play, the optics of it all. I would sit in that same chair and watch while special interests with all their arrogance would weave their inner web of deceit. Breaks brought about chit-chats with then General Counsel, most board members and facility staff. I had a second row seat of wink winks, campaign donation promises, and good old bravado. Just one big happy family of opportunists. All the speeches by those who were aligned to benefit from the millions in bond dollars. Persons who paid no property taxes in our district standing at the podium endorsing taxes which would burden this community's children for years to come. According to them, the board were heroes and heroines, the optics of it all. Fast forward to the last board meeting. The bond agenda item resurrected those nightmares and sickened me, the optics of it all. But allow me to share some differences that softened my disappointment. A facilities department headed by someone with high intelligence and integrity, Dr. Aguirre. An interim facility director who is knowledgeable, tenacious, and experienced, Ms. Quirk. A maintenance manager who continues to work hard at improving what was once a hot mess, Mr. Malone. A majority of board members who truly are here to serve, while others trustees since day one have had strategically worked towards one goal, a PLA. And a superintendent who, along with many other attributes, receives constructive criticism in the manner in which it is voiced, concerned opinion. She gets it. People are entitled to them, like at the last BOC meeting when she was defending the bond. Some board members are such silly opportunists, a status seeker and a political office pretender. They didn't need a dog and pony show of blue-shirted, hard-working men and women. The alleged concerned and taken advantage of folk who were driven here to endorse the PLA. And then there was the infamous CV middle school meltdown. No, they didn't need all that. If they truly believed the PLA was the best thing for our district and taxpayers, they should have relied on facts and versus theatrics, proven data versus hyperbole. So it is once again with proposed new bond they choose to defer to small circus endorsers who promote to garner all forces and financial resources for their piece of the 400-plus new bond, with the integrity versus the integrity of the data facilities has garnered. Age and values have taught me to speak of what I believe and to dare to demand integrity and honesty from those who were voted in to represent me. Deals that are made in the dark are always brought to light. Ask your predecessors with their inflated egos of greatness and status. Such sillies. They forgot who they were. Just like us. Just John Q. Public. This country will not be destroyed by those who choose to use their office, but rather by those who say or do nothing to stop it.
Thank you.
David Gross.
So I returned last board meeting to express some concerns about the bond issue and other things. And I was called out a little bit on some perceptions from the past. And at that meeting, I was allowed to speak, and I looked at some numbers. And Ms. Janney offered me an opportunity to come in and meet with Karen and with Roxana, and I was amazed. I was very amazed. So what I'd like to do is, I may run a little over, but all good stuff. Okay, I was very amazed. So my first letter after the board meeting was the day after, and my first paragraph was to Dr. Janney, Ms. Michael, and essentially to the board. And my first paragraph was, I was called out last night on a couple of statements about misappropriation, or rather abuse of CFD funding, or quote, surplus, of which, for all intents of this discussion, let's call it $160 million. It's really about 135 to 140, with roughly $30 million a year coming in through CFD funding and taxes, give or take a little bit. I'm paraphrasing the numbers, I'm sorry. I'm not so good at remembering that stuff, that we've been using over the years to help balance our budgets and other things. But there's also was a charge against that. Is a certain came in, they presented their presentation on $1 million defunded. And it was exact. I was putting dealing with a different board and a different series of dictator superintendents. So this is what I'd like to say, and I sent it back in a letter. I did not send it to the whole board, but I think the community needs to hear it yesterday. Too, and district financial keep going. The district financial staff appear to have started down the right track with regards to the CFD funding, both with the managing the current debt structure and reasonable thought towards future expenditures. This was far beyond my expectations based on my previous experiences with the Sweetwater High School District Board, and Board. Our discussion based on my CFD questions was very informational, along with leading into the work completed with legal counsel editions of the individual CFD. To CFD report presented at the last meeting. This is going in, and I talked to Mr. on it. The net facilities plan maintenance also responded to me after a month's meeting, saying, but I also said that I was going to come tonight. That this group of people are doing one heck of a good job at this. I'm not sure I'm ready to stand by another $459 million. But I will say to both the board, Ms. Janney, staff, thank you. You know, it sounds like we're on the right track, and I'd be more than happy to be involved, whatever I can. My only advice would be include more public. It's still not as transparent as it can be. Include a little more public, and toot your own horn a little bit. It's worth it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jose Preciado.
Good afternoon, President Hall, members of the board, I think I know most all of you, Karen. I'm here to talk about resources as well, but these are not construction resources. These are the resources in your classrooms. And one of the things that I'm starting to build a community around is supporting English language learners. So I'm going to read my comments, and hopefully I won't go over the 5 minutes, but you'll all get a copy of my comments ahead of time. I mean, in a packet that we'll provide. Dear board members and Dr. Janney, we are here in spirit of collaboration following the team approach that was outlined to us in a recent meeting with district leadership. We want to work towards increasing student achievement for English learners and long-term English learners in particular. We request to find a formal forum to obtain information, to offer input for new and emerging efforts, and to review the results of recent investments of the LCFF funding to improve student success for targeted groups. We are informed that the department or unit of language acquisition has been subsumed into a larger unit, something that has not happened in decades. There is nothing wrong with this itself. What we would like to know is how will the change be monitored for results? What is the expected outcome impacting student achievement, and how will you know? We know that the long-standing teachers on special assignment for EL support have been reassigned to classrooms. This is wonderful in the sense that some lucky students are going to have teachers with very high levels of training and expertise. And we know that, and now we're aware that there are some teachers on special assignment supporting the EL program that are back again. We don't know if it's 1 or 2 or 10, I don't know. What is perplexing for us, the outsiders, is what is the plan here? How does this connect with English Learner Master Plan in terms of the impact on student achievement? You reduce the number of teachers on special assignment, and you also retain some or hire new ones. What is the plan? Is this part of Sweetwater's focus on 1819 effective first-time instruction that leads to student engagement and mastery through the lens of equity and culture? Number 4, We are aware that a .2 allocation has been made to each of the sites to support EL students' progress. This .2 may be like the past EL advocate positions they used to have. We know that each school has more resources to support EL students than that .2. The question we have, though, is how will this initiative be monitored for success? What's the bottom line? For us, it's student achievement. And I'll end with the following. You have my remarks. I'm interested in collaborating with you, and I know we already met with Dr. Jani and Dr. Alvarez, and we like the spirit of collaboration. A few years back, we had an opportunity to collaborate with the Bilingual Task Force, and in that process, you were scaling down the ELD program from 1 through 8 to 1 through 4. You were also looking to buy an ELD curriculum that I had never seen before, your teachers had never seen before, but you have it now, and that's very exciting. So we are going to be forming a new organization that has had some good track record in the City Heights area. It's called Latinos and Latinas en Acción. We'll be organizing this group, and we hope to be a presence in all 23 of your sites, and we hope to be a presence here. We're interested in data sharing. We're interested in working collaboratively and actually find a formal space for us to interact through the goals of the local control funding formula, that parent engagement be substantive. We already know you have a structure called ELAC and DLAC, and that's part of the district. But most of all, we're interested in collaborating with you as we move to the future. I kept this from our meeting. Dr. Alvarez will remember. I'm very interested in innovations and support. What I'm not interested in is reimagining how we're going to support LTEL students. These are long-term English learners. Dr. Jenny showed us some data that evidences that the pattern that we've had always continues. We have higher or lower achievement rates for these long-term English learners. And if we were in Montana, where they're receiving new students, or some other state that hasn't had these populations, it'd be new. But we've had these populations for decades. And it's time for us to use some of the language that Mr. Pedro Noguera used. What are the barriers we have to eliminate? What are the barriers we have to finally eliminate to get this achievement done? So I apologize for going over time, President Hall, but you are very familiar with me. You know how passionate I am about this stuff. And my hope is that in the coming weeks, we start coming with 5 people and then 15 people. And then I hope to fill this room with people demanding continued partnership to advance the success of the student group. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aurora Murillo.
Good evening, President Hall, members of the board. How are you, Dr. Jani? I have continued to be very involved with DLAC, and as you know, I've always been very passionate also about the academic achievement of our English learners, as I once was. I am very pleased finding out that there has been some changes that seem to be bringing forward again the support to the parents' voice. I am also thankful that the changes that have been made in the engagement with parents are going to be focusing again on the student achievement. In the past year, I stepped back a little bit to allow everything that I was trying to hold back from happening, which was the loss of parents' rights, the loss of parents' the respect to parents, the loss of parents' voice. I kept trying to fight it from happening, and finally I said I'm going to have to allow it to happen for anyone to notice that it is happening. Someone was pushing for that, and it happened. I haven't paying attention to some of the reports that the president for DLAC had been bringing forward to you guys. And I think it's important that you guys know now so that we can prevent making the same mistake again, that there was a lot of things left out in the reports. There was no mention of the parents' continuous concerns for the support for English learners in the classroom, for the continuing failing of their English learner students in classes including math. Their children were being bored or they were misplaced into the wrong math. And as you know, as an English learner, you have the capacity to do numbers, to do math, to think, to elaborate, to have critical thinking, but yet just the language barrier. And a lot of times when you misplace the student, you really discourage them. There was also a lot of concerns from parents, including the lack of support and numbers of bilingual teachers in the classroom. It prevented the parents from communicating directly with the teachers. It also prevented some students from communicating effectively with their teachers when they had questions. So there was a lot of misplacements, a lot of concerns, a lot of bringing forward why is my child failing. And I don't think you guys were being made aware of any of that. I am mentioning this now because I think that is, with the changes that are being made, we also should be looking, and as Jose mentioned, collaborating, working together so that we can correct that and make it so that every single one of our students, every single one of our English learners has the same academic success that an English-speaking student has, that they have the same opportunity to make it to the university, which is why the parents are here fighting and working so hard, that we offer equity to every single student, not just to some. I know the time was not running correctly, so I'll stop right now, but I hope to be seeing you guys more often. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Thank you. Let me get my notes. Clerk of the Board, would you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I have one revision to read on Board Agenda Item G2. The fiscal impact is being revised. The total amount is correct. However, $109,181 is being paid from LCAP and $13,175 is being paid from Title III, Resource Code 4203. It indicated all was coming from LCAP, and that was not accurate. The item will be revised in Novus upon approval. The following items have been pulled. F3 by Mrs. Hall, Mr. Segura, and Mr. Tarantino. Item F5 by Mrs. Hall and Mr. Tarantino. Item G1 by Mrs. Hall and Mr. Tarantino. Item H1 by Mrs. Hall. Item H3 by Mrs. Hall. Item K1 by Mr. Segura. Item K2 by Mrs. Hall. Item L3 by Mr. Tarantino. Item M1 by Mrs. Hall and Mr. Tarantino. Item M3 by Mrs. Hall. Item N3 by Mr. Tarantino. Item R1 by staff, and item R2 by staff.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Solis, a second by Mr. Segura. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. We'll go to item R1 and R2 together because we have a guest presenter for that, Ms. Barbara Hammett. Karen Michael, would you like to call up the... Oh, she's just here. Okay, answer questions if there's any. All right.
Yes, thank you, President Hall. So our aim tonight is to actually, after the presentation last week, to actually have the board approve the increase for the special tax rates That would be the first resolution. The second resolution is to approve the dissolution of CFD number 2, as all those homes have paid their 25 years of Melrose tax. And the ordinance is a first read, but the resolution, I believe, is an approval. And if the board has any questions on either item, Ms. Hale Carter is here to answer your questions.
All right. I don't see that there was anybody that pulled this item from the board, so I will entertain a motion to approve item R1.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Solis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Solis, second by Tarantino. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. Are there any questions on R2 about the dissolution? No. All right, thank you. That was the first read, did you say?
Actually, there's 2 parts to this item. You're adopting Resolution 4570, and you're making a motion to conduct the first reading of Ordinance 24 by title only. If that motion passes, then I only have to read the title of the ordinance.
Okay, let me get back to that note. Okay, so,
So you can take one motion on the item.
all right, we'll have a motion to adopt Resolution 4570, the
I'll make-
resolution for the,
I'll make the motion to adopt
Okay.
resolution 4570. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
So now, what? That's it?
If you'd like to make a motion to conduct the first reading of Ordinance 24 by title only.
All right,
I'll make a motion to conduct the first reading of title.
Ordinance 24
24.
by title only.
Title 24.
Thank you.
ordinance,
Different.
okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Segura, second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent. The first reading of Ordinance 24 is Ordinance of Community Facilities District Number 2, Bonita Long Canyon of the Sweetwater Union High School District, dissolving Community Facilities District Number 2 of the Sweetwater Union High School District, and the levy of special taxes, and ordering the recordation of an addendum to the notice of special tax lien relating to Community Facilities District Number 2 of the Sweetwater Union High School District.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll go to item F, well, we're gonna put F3 to the back. I'm gonna go to F5 first. That way people can put notes together, and if they wanna put something in the F3, they can. So F5 is the Sweetwater, the revision to the Sweetwater Union High School District Audit Finance Subcommittee Charter. And I'd like to give a report a little bit, if you don't mind, Mr. Tarantino, if I speak first on this item. We had a really good meeting. We've had a good couple of meetings. I didn't do a formal report on the May meeting. You had the minutes in our agenda today to approve, which pretty much recounted what we discussed. I'm handing you the calendars that were part of our items. Our work, these are work calendars and sort of the calendar for the audit. Oops. That's the street number.
Dr. Witters,
So-
can you keep it down over there?
So this is the calendar of the standard agenda items that we would consider on an annual basis. It sort of gives you our working map for the committee, but also for how the external audits are going to be conducted, what the expected time frame for that, and also for the district subcommittee deadlines and deadlines of staff, so that we can work together to have a more cohesive range of activities and expectations. And that was I just want you to see that we've been working on this since the subcommittee has started meeting, and it really came together about a year and a half ago. But at this last meeting, Ms. Carolina Zimmerman, who works with Ms. Michael, under Ms. Michael's direction, brought forward this first page, which gives you all the dates of what our expected activities will be and when our future meetings will be conducted, and the business that we expect to conduct at those meetings. So it is a good tool for you to kind of understand the time frame of where we're working and what we have the expectations for. The one thing that I would express a very much an importance on is that at the interim reports should be really true projections, not a true projection as the best that can be the analysis that can be made for that by staff, a true projection of what actual expenditures will occur, and that I think that's key. And to make sure that the staff informs the committee if there's any roadblocks to that occurring, then the sooner the committee knows, the better, so that the board can be informed and understand what's happening. But there's a lot of good work going on. We received also the internal auditor's work plan for this year, which had several items that were added to that calendar, in part because of the studies that were done, the focus studies and the help of the FICMAT that was done at the recommendation of the audit subcommittee, coming in and looking at the operations of this division to help with the work and the oversight of it, and maybe to spot some of the issues when and if they occur. There were several items that have been added to the internal audit's calendar for the year. What that means is that those 3 staff members have a lot to do, and it's very timely work, and I think that we have to understand how important that work is to our district and to the board's role as the fiscal oversight of the district and the transparency in what's going on. So I want to thank Ms. Michael and Ms. Martinez, who is the internal auditor, the head internal auditor, and the work they've done around that. Ms. Michael also presented the budget for 2018-19 and the challenges that we are now facing in the out years, which as we do our budgets, we always plan one year and have to demonstrate that beyond that year for 2 more years that we're going to be fiscally sound, based on what we know as at a moment of time, which may not be a true picture of what will occur, but it's how we have to plan, and that picture is not really rosy at this time for our district. So there is caution, and there's much work to do for the out years, and we talked about that. So there was a lot that we did, and we also had, thanks to the clerk of the board, Mr. Sato, provided to the committee the Form 700 and who in the district is responsible for completing that, who were required to complete it. And we also had an overview of what they're doing around the booster clubs, because we had touched on that in May. We had actually asked and advised or made recommendations to Ms. Michael and the team about doing periodic reviews of all the booster clubs and to review the policies and things, and they brought back the new policies that we adopted at our June board meeting and went through the process and what now the internal auditor will do into making sure that those things are completed in a timely manner, and that the trainings that they have planned around that. So a lot of good things are going on for the team as far as the implementation of their oversight. We also heard back about our fraud hotline and the expectation of when that will roll out. And we're hoping that it will be within the next few weeks. There are still some nuances to that are being worked out with the provider. So that's all good news. And in the main work that we did, well, through all the last couple of meetings, we've been talking through the charter and what we really need to have in the charter, and staff brought back everything that we had requested. And we did make one amendment in that meeting to one of the sentences, which I'm sure they included in this, that the committee's mission is to act as an independent advisory capacity to the board in support of fiscal transparency. And I think that we've done a lot of work to help the district in that role. So that's all I have to say, and I want to thank you all. Mr. Tarantino?
Yes, I just wanted to commend you, Ms. Hall, as the chair of the audit subcommittee, and Mr. Segura as the member, for bringing the revised charter back. I think this is what you've outlined in terms of the responsibilities is definitely in line with AR 3460 number C. In fact, some of the planks are exactly the same words. So I want to thank you for that, and also I think that the role of the committee now is more in line in terms of the board, what we've been told year after, well, at least for the last 3 years, by CSBA, that the board deals with the what and staff deals with the how. So I want to thank you for the work and attention that you put into this, and with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, I have a motion and a second to approve item F5. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
All right. So now we have item G1. Mr. Tarantino? That is...
Yes.
Yes.
G1. I have two questions. In the MOU, it talks about a point person for grant compliance, and I was wondering if we've decided on who that person is going to be. And then my second question deals with the funding, and I just, if someone could explain what this means. It says the CRSD agrees to pay, anyway, those entities $5,000 in matching funds by a certain date. Funding may be contributed by the Sweetwater Union High School District and or Gompers Preparatory Academy, that's a mouthful, or any authorized third party. I don't know what that means. Are we, is it a voluntary contribution? Is it a mandatory contribution? Anyway, just some clarity around that.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Alvarez?
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Hall, Mr. Tarantino, board members, Dr. Gianni. So this organization, the Community Rowing of San Diego, is actually sponsoring the rowing equipment at Sweetwater Union High School District at Sweetwater. So although it says May, it was a general contract. They are going to pay the $5,000, and Sweetwater is not going to have to fund this at all. The second part of your question is who is going to be that liaison or that grant person at the site. It will be Heather Fax Huxaby, the athletic director support, who will be leading this at the site.
Thank you. So my questions on this item were similar to Mr. Tarantino's. It is a match, right? There is a match. So it would be probably her salary that's being used as a match?
So the match is that we are using her salary as part of that, but we are not allocating any monies directly to fund this.
But there's teacher training involved in this?
So the program, I think 2 weeks ago, at this board meeting, you approved the facility use with the National City Aquatic Center, and so that was the first part of this. The second part is that teachers will be trained on an online curriculum and then an actual curriculum to use with their classrooms. And so they will train up to a certain amount of teachers to use the rowing equipment, and then once those teachers and students are trained, then they will be able to use the facility at National City Aquatic Center.
Okay. So, and these are rowing machines? There's 20 rowing machines?
They are.
that
They're
being
rowing.
provided to Sweetwater High School?
Yes, they'll be located in their gym.
And it says that some community members will have access to those machines?
So that's what the contract says, that if during the time that the equipment is not being used, but we would still follow our district policies and procedures in assuring that district equipment is being utilized with, and not by other staff or other people.
So that when students aren't going to have to wait for a community class or something like
No.
that that's utilizing the machines?
No, first rights is for
And
students.
and the school protocol for having visitors on campus will be followed?
Those would still be in place.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve item G1.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Solis, a second by
Segura.
Segura. Motion by Segura, second by Solis. I heard that right. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so now we're on to item H1, sorry, and that was pulled by me. Simple question. In this document, it talks about the determination around fingerprinting, and I have a concern about that being not a requirement, but rather, I forget what the wording said in here. Determine if, well, students, I was thinking it was the students are the students from San Diego State University, not our students. So if fingerprinting is necessary, and that may cause for concern. So I'm not sure if these students are coming onto our campus and interacting with students, they certainly would be required to have fingerprinting done, would they not?
That's correct. Fingerprinting background checks will be conducted. This is a template. The document will be completed electronically, and when that happens, the if will be changed to a will.
Okay, and who pays for that? 'Cause that's kind of-
It's paid for by San Diego State.
All right, okay. Thank you. That's all my questions. So, I'll entertain a motion to approve item H1.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Solis. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Segura. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. And now I have item H3, sorry, and that is about the memorandum of understanding with Southwest Sports Wellness Foundation. And I think it's really wonderful that they're doing this work and they're providing the physicals for student athletes or those that want to participate in co-curricular activities, and that they also provide some scholarships back to the students. But my question was, is this an exclusive service? Are they the exclusive providers of this service to our students?
It's an optional service that's available to students at every high school in our district. Students can also opt to get a physical through their own provider or go to another organization.
All right, that's all I needed to know. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to approve item H3. Anybody?
I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Tarantino, a second by Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, and now we have K1, Mr. Segura.
So it was actually N1 that I was,
Oh, okay. So,
I have no issue.
Oh, you said the warrants, sir.
I know, I was guessing,
I'm sorry.
I guessed wrong.
Oh, the purchase orders.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was approved on consent.
yes.
can we allow him to have that question when we have, I know it was already on the consent agenda, but when we get down to there, can he ask his question?
Well, the item wasn't pulled, so it's already been approved.
Right. but
You would
we
have
still
to make a motion to
conversation.
reconsider the consent agenda and take it off if you wanted to have him ask a question.
We don't have to have a vote on it. We just are asking a question. I don't think that's the same thing.
The item's already been approved on consent, so it wouldn't be pulled for discussion.
So we would have to reconsider the consent agenda. Would you like me to have that? done?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna I'll accept a motion to reconsider the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Segura. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Segura and a second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so we're gonna consider N1 in order when we get to that.
So
Okay.
we're going to approve the consent agenda as previously stated, except for N1 is now pulled by Mr. Segura. So you would need to take a vote.
All
a
right,
motion for
So
that.
now we have the amended consent agenda would be all items pulled previously with an additional item of N1, correct?
Yes.
And so I'll take a motion to approve that motion.
So moved. Second.
Or to make that motion. So I have a motion by Mr. Segura and a second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
All right, so now which item are we on? K2?
So we still
K1?
need an approval for K1.
Move to ratify K1.
Well, yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, so if you let me call on it.
Move to ratify K1.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm not there yet, guys.
Oh,
Okay,
he was the only one that pulled it. That's right.
right. Oh, so we're, yeah, okay, so I have a motion to ratify K1.
Second.
And a second. Motion by Solis, second by Segura. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
We made it through that one, you guys. Whew.
Way to keep in charge, I like that.
Yeah. So I have pulled item K2, which is the agreement, ratify services. And I know that this was talked about probably at a couple of different venues. I know at our audit subcommittee or in a agenda review. But I just wanted to know where it wasn't just a verbal contract, was it? You did amendment, like a letter of understanding or something to amend this audit so that it included this additional scope or timeframe?
So there was, no, we did not amend the contract. The auditors returned after we re-entered all of our information for our independent study audit. They looked at it prior to the corrections being made, and they had to return after to ensure that the corrections reflected accurate attendance. And so we were invoiced for the additional $1,500, approximately 8 hours for a partner and or a supervisor to relook at that attendance data.
So if we have other items that are invoices or contracts, we usually get the the document as an attachment to the board item, so I would request that be the future practice.
Certainly, we can do that, Ms. Hall.
Thank you. So that was my only question, and I'll call for a vote on this item, K2. Motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Solis, second by Segura. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
L3, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Yes. My question, Madam President, is, first of all, what is the project management plan certification, and what was the problem with it?
Mr. Delicazada would be addressing this issue as he worked with Dr. Glover on this, I believe, right? Okay.
Good evening, President Hall, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Jenny. The PMP certification is a project management methodology a certification that's required by project managers from PMI to apply to projects. The intent of the certification is to keep projects on track and to include a systematic approach to projects. The difficulty we're having is that I believe the candidates don't have that particular certification. The certification requires initially 5 to 6 classes, but then there is a year mentorship that they have to go through. And so we anticipate that there are a number of factors contributing to the lack of candidates. However, I think with the approach that Dr. Glover is suggesting, that the name change and a re-architect of the questions initially should provide additional candidates for us to review.
May I ask a
Yes,
follow-up?
please.
How critical is that? Is that something that could be learned on the job as opposed to with the classes, or?
Yes, it can be learned on the job. However, there's a number of pressing deadlines that we have over the course of the next 3 to 5 years from a strategic standpoint that would make it impractical. Because we also need to, besides training the staff, we also need to establish this particular methodology into our culture. So it's not just this one person. And so the sooner we start this, the sooner that we start educating the departments that are involved in projects, and the sooner that we get staff trained, the better we will be going forward. It will save time, money, and we will be able to get projects implemented quicker.
All right.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
I didn't answer your question,
No,
sir.
you did, but it wasn't the answer I was looking for.
Sounds like.
Well, I just.
Let me see if I can. It's optimal, but it's not required. It's optimal to have someone with this PMP certification, but it's not like they can't implement their role in this job without that certification. It would just have been nice to have it.
Thank you. That's the answer I was looking for.
Thank you, Dr.
Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
So can I ask you a question following up on his, since he asked that?
Yes, ma'am.
What happens when you don't have that? Because if you don't have if you're not really qualified to do the work of the technology, like when we're trying to build this infrastructure, and you don't have the knowledge base, what does that do for us?
That puts an emphasis on trial and error, and so depending upon the trial and error, that will cost the organization money.
But, so I can see where that would happen, but is it the systems that we're dealing with that really require that? I mean, didn't we have some things with Oracle that required the expertise of the people that were dealing with Oracle, and nobody else in our district really had that expertise, so we were hiring consultants to do that work?
Yes, however, this certification deals with the integration across the enterprise. It's not just an Oracle-based scenario or Microsoft SQL or virtualization of servers.
Exactly.
It's the entire umbrella.
And how many districts deal with this kind of Have you checked in the other school districts?
Yes, yes, our Poway has 3 project manager or certified project managers. San Diego Unified has 3. Vista, I believe, has 1. And I forget where Dwayne's located at, but he has 2 project managers on his staff. So it is an industry standard. It isn't something that's unique. Every industry, biotech, education, health, basically utilizes this particular certification for project management.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Segura?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a better handle on, I mean, it sounds like it's a certification that we want. That's what I kind of feeling on this. If it's a standard, I don't know why we'd want to go away from that. I know we need somebody, but I'm just trying to understand that better, and I don't agree with it as I understand it right now. That's certification. I worked in a field where you're required to have all kinds of certifications, and if you don't have that certification, you don't get that job. So I maybe it's not that critical, but it sounds like it from what you just said, sir.
We are not eliminating that certification. It's highly preferred. And so there are other factors, obviously, that we're looking for in this particular position, not just project management.
So if, through the chair,
Please, Mr. Segura.
if another district was advertising for this job, would they say preferred, or would they just say, would they most of them say required?
Would you like to answer that, Dr. Glover?
Thank you,
Dr. Glover?
Ms. Hall, Board of Trustees, Dr. Janney. It's a variety of options for the districts. It expands our pool of candidates by having it preferred. A lot of folks have put things on their letters of intent saying that they're in progress, they may be a few classes away, but if we have it as a hard deadline, then the person that's 2 classes away that might be marvelous, I'd have to screen them out. So we're trying to get an optimal opportunity to screen people into the process, and it's part of the paper screening, and then through the interview process, we'll interview and see what sort of skills they have that actually match the fact that you may have the paper, but you also have the background and experience and be able to articulate what you can do with it. So we're trying to expand our opportunities for candidates.
Any other questions, Mr. Segura? That I can understand. I mean, I can understand expanding the pool, the ability to expand the pool by doing that and knowing that you can screen then about how far along people are. But I do believe in this type of work, you have to have some real skill-based knowledge. The certification, the year and a half, and a commitment to do that means you're really determined to do well in that function. So I hope that you would carefully screen those applications.
So let me just add a few more to that. How long have we had this position open now?
The position's been open since January of 18.
Yeah. So we've been trying, we've been expanding, we've been going out to other organizations, but with this particular requirement, we feel like we're not getting the pool of candidates to even screen them in to be interviewed. So we're hoping, our intent here is to get someone with this, a preferred certification, but it opens a door to some other people, like Tom says, that may not be quite finished and they can't say they're certified, but they're close. So right now, we can't even interview them because they don't meet the criteria. And we've been looking for 6 months to try to fill in a position to help IT. This was our attempt to try to expand the pool.
Yeah, this with the title change also might attract more folks that are inside the traditional IT world, inside of educational and public sector sector.
All right, thank you. Mr. Solis?
Okay, with that, I was just, if you find somebody, but then they're in, and they don't want to finish their certification, then what?
It's a very grueling certification, and it's highly wanted. So it would be improbable that person would not complete that. But that is a possibility. But I believe if we found the right person, I believe he would complete it.
Well, I'd also like to concur with Mr. De La Casada, but also this is a management position, and so we would ideally help them be influenced to complete their task.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so if there's no further questions on this item, I will entertain a motion to approve item L3, the revised management job description for the Assistant Director of Information Technology Systems Development.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Solis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Tarantino. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
All right, so we're now on to item M1, and I'll let Mr. Tarantino take the floor.
Well, I just wanted to thank Dr. Aghetti and his team for bringing forward the projects for Eastlake High School, and I think, and also Olympian. The thing that I want to point out is the fact that these projects are directly a result of community, parent, and student input for all of these projects. That was something that has been voiced unofficially and officially through our master facility community forums. And so I just wanted to call out the fact that we do listen to what people say, and we do base our priorities on what the input that we receive from the stakeholders. And I want to thank you and your team for listening and for incorporating that into the priority list in terms of what are our next projects. That's what I wanted to say. Bravo. Nice job.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say also that these are there's a mix. There's Fund 49 where we have some of those cell phone revenues. Isn't that where the revenues from L Street and the cell phones? Oh, is that Fund 40?
So Fund 49 is your Melrose. Fund 40, Special Reserve for Capital Projects, is
it
the
does
read.
say CFD.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of that because it was on the other side of the sentence or paragraph. Thank you. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you. So I'll take a motion to approve item M1, the Capital Improvement Program Status Report.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yeah. All right, and do I have a item? Yeah, we'll have Mr. Marinovich with his.
Oh, you need to take the vote, ma'am.
Huh?
You need to take
Oh,
the
I'm
vote.
sorry, the vote. Sorry. I'm thinking, I got too many things. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
You have a motion and second.
Right, let's call for the vote, please.
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
All right. Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
All right. Mr. Marinovich, would you like to give your Bond Oversight Committee report now, please?
Sure. Good evening, President Hall, members of the board, Superintendent Janney. I was going to give you a longer report, and I know this will break your heart tremendously. I'm going to really not focus on the bond proposal, bond measure, until we have our meeting on Friday. I think it's best to look and see what the district actually, the final number and all that. But I wanted to give you some highlights of what did happen at the committee. And these are good things. Held up high, on time, or ahead of schedule. I mean, it's going to open for the first game, which is great. The deferred maintenance item or issue is still on our radar. Here's, I'm not going to go through the PowerPoint, I don't believe. This may be a few slides. But here's probably the most important thing I want to get out of you tonight is I see from, I didn't know, is there something going on? I don't know. Anyway, is the aspect about the bond oversight committee. We went around the room and said, you know, because we're all volunteers. In 201, you know, really what people wanted to do, they volunteer this time, is they want to be listened to, and they want a better district, and I don't hear any like hidden agendas type of thing. And what struck me too was that people wanted to make sure that their technical expertise was able to be used by the district. You got 4 project managers on the CBOC. Finally, and again, I'll cover more items on Friday, but I was elected chair again for the umpteenth time, I know, 6th time. And it's an honor to be as the chair. And I want to acknowledge Bernardo Vasquez, who went to my right, and I've been on the committee like 1 month, and he goes, "Hey, you want to be chair?" I go, "What the hell does that involve?" I go, "You retired?" "Yeah." "Well, why don't you go for it?" "Sure." Then I became Ed Brand's worst enemy. Second day on the job, I got a call from J.W. August saying, "What about that dirt at Southwest High School?" I bring up this because a lot of things have changed since then, but we are in a better place. I can tell you, as a God, I'm sounding like Trump. We got more to follow. But on Friday, this bond oversight committee went over our normal 2-hour limit on the meeting, and all of us were actively engaged, along with Superintendent Janney, with quandering, I don't know if there's a right word, what to do about the position on the bond measure. So it wasn't something done flippantly. It was done with careful thought. And in closing, I just look forward to the meeting on Friday and to see what the district offers with some of our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And now I gotta find my thing again. So item M3, I believe I pulled that one. Did anybody pull M2? Let's see. Okay. M3 was do we have a list somewhere that on the website that shows the contractors and the number of projects and what projects they've had under Propo? Just a list?
So we do have the information available, but it's in a pretty comprehensive M1 report, the capital improvement project. So I think you're asking for a condensed version of that. We can work on developing like a summary
just
table.
Just a list, yeah.
But we do have it. It's just that it's voluminous.
Yeah, just a list of what projects, what contractors, have had this project. They've had this many projects. Yes. All right, so that was my question. I'll entertain a motion for item M3, which is to approve Amendment 2 to the 12th project agreement with the K-12 Public Schools and Community Colleges Facility Authority.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Segura. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Solis. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, now we're on to item N1. Mr. Segura.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and the board for going through the exercise, but that was very interesting.
Yes, it was.
On how to make that happen. It's possible, and it was done properly. So, N1. So the only question I had was on, let me pull up the number 551207. Just more information on that. What exactly that is.
So good evening, Board and Mr. Segura. This purchase order was actually generated by our Information Technology Department. It is a cooperative agreement, purchase of a cooperative agreement with Simi Valley School District, and it is for Microsoft licenses and district-wide for different parts of Microsoft licenses. And so that is what the item is.
Okay, maybe I could just ask if that could be put on there in the future so it's a little more clear what it is.
Yes, yes, I
I didn't
believe.
see it in the, was it in the other section? I didn't see where it said exactly what it was. It had a bunch of other stuff in the, like, the next section that shows you kind of breakdown. Does it
Yeah,
say that
could
in
you
there?
kind of point us to that page where there is more information on that item?
So actually, this information was provided by our purchasing department, so we can incorporate more detail for you.
I mean, if it's already there, then we don't need it, but I don't think I saw it.
Is it this one right here? The
Yeah, so it says Microsoft Windows. So it kind of says it, but
Well, I would wonder why did they go out for bid for that? Or it's just a piggyback on?
It's a cooperative agreement. It's a piggyback with Simi Valley School District.
So why wouldn't we have approved something like that on a separate item before they generated the purchase order?
So the board adopted.
$292,000 item?
So the board adopted a resolution quite some time ago that gave permission per public contract code for the purchasing department to use piggybacks. And so,
But I wouldn't have thought it would be we've had other items that they've piggybacked on that have come to us as separate
Separately.
standalone board items that we then approved, and there's been an explanation about it's a piggyback, because I know we've asked questions around that. So I'm surprised that we haven't already approved that in some manner before they go out and generate a PO for $292,000.
so it is as I said, it was pretty much of an annual standard purchase of software licenses for the district. We can certainly, if the board feels it necessary in the future, we can segregate that out as a separate item for you.
I think maybe we need to have a policy that says if it's over a certain amount. I thought we did have a board policy that says if any item is over, I mean, normally it's a $50,000 threshold before you.
we will we will figure that out and get back to you.
Thank you.
it does, Chair, it does look like, it does say, it says license. I just
Mhm.
didn't
Right. but it's-
understand it correctly, but it does pretty much say what it is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So maybe we need to get the policy committee together for that also? If we need additional policy around that, so we can have a discussion on that?
We don't have a policy committee. It was
Well, I'm
absolved.
just saying, we can call together a committee at any point in time and ask that a committee be put together to develop policy. We don't have to have a standing committee to do that, correct? All right. All right, so, now we're on, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So
item
moved.
N1. I have a motion to approve, or a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second with Mr. Tarantino. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Item N3 was pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Yes, and basically I pulled this not because of the item, because I had concerns about the item, but just again to point out that, every once in a while, news outlets run reports in terms of how much missing equipment is associated with each district. And I just wanted to call out the fact that we are concerned about our property and that we are taking measures to make sure that we do have an accounting of them. And I just wanted to thank staff for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve item N3.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Solis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Solis, second by Tarantino. Would you call for the vote, please?
Solis?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes?
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
So now we will go to item F3, which is the report on board request for information and policy direction to staff. And I believe Mr. Tarantino, you pulled this item, and so did Mr. Segura, so go ahead, Mr. Tarantino. I'm calling the shots here.
As a parent.
Okay. Yes, I have some requests. I noticed that in Mr. Maranovich's report, he mentions the fact that the board has not taken any action on the bylaw changes for the CBOC. And so I would like to request, and I know that, I think we saw them, it was in a report, that they were kind of embedded in a report, but they haven't been a standalone document. So I was wondering if at staff's discretion, this could be brought back for us to look at and also to have a discussion and subsequently vote on it. And the second thing is, and I don't know, Mr. Segura, would you please put your hand over your ears? There's another plank in Mr. Maranovich's report that says that references that we don't know the impact of the PLAs on bond program and other projects. And my recollection when we talked about the PLA was that we were going to wait 3 years and then have an evaluation process. So could we get clarification in terms of is that in fact something that we're looking forward to this year? Because I believe this is the third year. And so my expectation was that we would have that evaluation this year sometime or at the end of this year. And so I don't understand why there's confusion as to nobody knows now what the impact is, because I don't think we even talked about having something come forward until after 3 years. So just some clarification on that point.
I'd like some clarification on that point, the last point, because I don't believe we passed a PLA 3 years ago. It took us quite some time. It took us well over a year after I first brought it up.
Well,
So-
I guess my point is,
So I think the time frame for that is a little off, but I would also say, it is a little bit soon, I think, to have a full, analysis, but staff can come up and talk about how the projects were, if they were delivered on time, and what that sort of thing, because that all impacts it. So some of the ramifications or some of the analysis, how do you look at that and get data that you can even compare? So what would be the data points that you would use for a discussion? That would be something to do that we can look at and talk about breaking out. Okay?
oh, and I have one more thing, I'm
All right.
sorry. I want to call attention to an
This isn't board comments, though. This is just asking for a brief.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, because I'm
I
trying to
would-
keep it to
No,
the
no,
end.
thank
That
you.
way, if you have something
Yes.
during the
No, no.
meeting you want to add to your list, so.
That's good.
So
Okay.
now it's Mr. Segura's.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like to see is a presentation on 504 plans in the district and what they entail, just a presentation on them and how they're being, I'm sure, advertised or and how they're being utilized and that sort of thing. So I'd be interested to see that. That's what I'm requesting. And that's it.
How are parents informed?
Yeah, our parents are informed.
Okay. Mr. Solis?
It was communicated by one of the CBOC members, Ms. Navarro, with regards to the meeting with CBOC, joint meeting. So just, I'm not sure how that's going, but she wanted me to bring it up, and I told her I would. So
All right.
to the chair and
All right.
superintendent, just
Thank you.
thank you.
We will put that on our list of to-dos. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
The joint meeting. Right. But we have one with Southwest first,
Yeah, yeah.
and then we have a few things going on, so it may not occur for a while longer. All right, so, and I don't really need to ask for anything more. So I'm gonna pass on that item. And with that, we're on to, board comments. Mr. Solis?
Thank you. I just wanted to say congratulations to all the teachers for working hard getting ready for this school year, and I wish them luck and luck to all our students, and that they have a great year. That's it for me. Have a good night.
Mr. Segura.
Yes. I would echo Mr. Solis's comments and wish everybody a happy new school year. My kids are, my daughter's a sophomore now at Castle, and my son's a junior. He made it. Hilltop, and he's doing great. He's doing really, well, it's early. He's doing really great right now. He's got A's and everything, A pluses. He says he's committed. He's got it dialed in now, and I believe him. He has some very difficult classes too, AP classes. So I'm really looking forward to helping him in any way I can. And I would like to say that, as everybody knows, I'm involved with the Electrical Workers Union, and we had 110 Chula Vista Elementary School District teachers at our training center. Tour our training center for half a day. To explain to them what the apprenticeship is, not just the electrical apprenticeship, but all apprenticeships, and then what ours is, and then the workforce development is a partner of ours, and it was really, really well received. I was out of town, unfortunately, but it blew up on the social media, on Twitter, and it was really, really good. And I hope that at some point we could do that. We've had teachers or counselors, I believe, at our training center, but just really hope to get that going more and more, and just to expose as many people as we can to the apprenticeship. And one of the tweets I saw was they actually had a tweet of a picture of real world algebra use, right? How often do you see that, right? And in my world, in electrical world, that is something you could use every day. And they had it drawn on a whiteboard, and it was the bend conduit. To bend conduit, you have to use trig and algebra. So, because a friend of mine had told me, an educator had said that, I guess some teachers believe that algebra is where a lot of students go to die almost. It's just like a wall, and you're required to have it, but it's not really necessary for a lot of fields. But in my world, you have to pretty much master that. So I was kind of amused by that. But I've also been trying to work with Dr. Janney, try to get, also with Chula Vista, we're doing this, and it's going to be happening at one of their elementary schools, the Energy Station. It's a sustainable energy program that's going to be there, and then it's going to move over to one of the libraries, and I would like to have, so that's going to be the second one. It's going to be a hands-on thing, and it's going to be the kids pick out their careers they want, and if it's an electrician, it tells you what you need to do, and what you have to be good in math, and what your Lexile score has to be, and all that sort of stuff. So I hope to try to work with the district, and I was told by some friends who worked in the after-school programs that it's easier to maybe get it in after-school program and run it that course until we can maybe get it into like one of our schools. So I hope to help, whatever I can do to make that work. I think that would be just great, and then just not stop with electrical work, but there's a lot of engineering type work, mechanical trades, plumbing and fitting, and where there's a lot of opportunity to try to expose as many kids, our students, to that as possible. So I'm really excited about that. That's one of my goals this year, and I'll do whatever I can to make that go. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tarantino. Now is your turn.
Now's my turn. I tried to leapfrog. I'm sorry. Mr. Grills, I'd like to thank you for your comments this evening. I think took a lot of courage to say what you did, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much for speaking up tonight. I'd also like to thank Dr. Fulcher and his team for what I thought was a very powerful equity symposium. Well done, and thank you for providing us, I think, validation for what's been going on the last 2 years, and also for providing a roadmap for how we can meet the challenge of excellence through equity for this year. So thank you very much for that. And last but not least, I'd like to recognize Nate McPeak. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was an Eastlake High School lacrosse player. He's 19 years old. And here's a picture of him. So I don't know what year he graduated. If he's 19, he could have graduated last year or the year before. Anyway, that's not important. The important part is he's now playing for the country of Jamaica, the lacrosse team for Jamaica, at its International Lacrosse Federation World Championship in Israel. So how cool is that? So I just wanted to call him out. That's it.
All right, and I forgot to ask for a couple of things. I think one of the things that Mr. Marinovich had in his report and a request from the Oversight Committee was to have, there was 2 recommendations they were asking about around the bond, and one was, because I left the report in the car. Do you remember where it is? The Independent Selection Committee, right? And we do that, correct? We already have that in place, right? So if you, I'm just asking, because you know what, we're off of F3, but I'm really not good about staying on F3 and saying it all in that time frame, in that item, but you might want to look at working on that to, what that recommendation was and see what you can do about it. And the other thing, I just want to say, I really too appreciated the, seeing all the teachers committed to start off their year with all the professional development opportunities that they had in their PLCs and their school site kickoffs, and the equity symposium, which is really something I feel strongly in support of. It was a wonderful way to start that off. I wish I could have spent the whole day there, because it was so many really world-class opportunities to for teachers to avail themselves. I would have had a hard time selecting one and which one to juggle to the next time. So I mean, it was really great, and I want to thank Dr. Jenny and Dr. Fulcher and your staff and all the soups for the assistant soups. It was really great work. Your team is terrific. And I was at a meeting with other board members and advocates recently, and we had a presentation from a person who works with unions on career technical education and how they the requirements for getting into that field, and how accessible it is if people, you have to be 18 and all that, but getting that information out. What they stressed was it really is up to principals and counselors and teachers to educate students about those opportunities alongside the opportunities that college presents to them, because for many people that is a real viable way to good income and a way to build your family and your future. So I think that in listening to him, it was really eye-opening, the things that around that. So I would like to see a presentation on CTE around that. Maybe he could come and present, and we could have a couple of people. So I'll talk to the superintendent about that further. But yeah, I would like to know more about what we require of our career technical education teachers as far as real experience in their field before they become teachers. So I think getting all that in the presentation would be good information. And with that, I want to say welcome to the new year, and we thank you, and very exciting things are coming your way, so thank you. Meeting is adjourned. debating, do I want to do that or do I just want to leave